Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and for the last 7 days, I've been driving the 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe XRT. Up front is a 2.5-liter turbocharged inline-4, and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Santa Fe XRT for two reasons. First of all, this is the redesigned Santa Fe. It debuted last year for the 2024 model year, and this is its second model year, and I still think it's handsome. But the second reason is the fact that this is the XRT. We have not tested an XRT here on the channel before, so I'm excited to get into that with you today. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 2.5-liter turbo under the hood. Well, that is the upgrade engine for the Santa Fe, but it is the only engine offered here in the XRT. So you cannot get the XRT trim level with the hybrid powertrain, of which I have yet to test. I like the 2.5-liter turbo. I miss the V6 at times, sometimes that low-end stuff, but this is the way that Hyundai's heading, and so I think it's a good enough engine, and it accomplishes the job that it sets out to do. Fuel economy has been 25 miles to the gallon flat. Now, this has mostly been highway driving, and the EPA estimates 26 miles to the gallon on the highway, but I have been averaging about 80 miles an hour as opposed to where the EPA tests around 65, 70. So, pretty good fuel economy, pretty on the money for what they advertise. Like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic. Now, this has been problematic for several owners of the new Santa Fe, and in my time having it, over 600 miles, I have felt it kick or buck once. That was kind of strange. Now, it could have been me off guard, maybe I wasn't paying attention, blah, 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 but this transmission doesn't give me a whole lot of comfort. And if it doesn't give you comfort, then no worries. If you buy the hybrid, it actually comes with the 6-speed automatic, which is a different transmission and actually a lot stronger. So the hybrid seems to be the way to go. Last but not least, this is outfitted with Hyundai's H-Track all-wheel drive system, and the XRT only comes with all-wheel drive. However, you can buy the regular Santa Fe or normal Santa Fe with 2-wheel drive. So how does it feel to drive the new Santa Fe XRT? Well, it rides nice. So for the XRT trim level, they added chunkier tires for off-roading, different wheels, and they gave it a 1.3-inch suspension lift, so you have just about 8 inches of clearance underneath. With that suspension lift and the knobbier tires, you honestly don't really notice it on road. The tires are a little bit noisier, but that's going to be any off-road tire. And this is actually the first Hyundai product ever to be outfitted with these knobby tires. But like I said, it doesn't eat into the drivability. Driving this back-to-back with the standard Santa Fe, you don't really notice much of a difference, and that's nice. Oftentimes, the off-roady spec of cars tends to ride a lot worse than the on-road counterpart, and that's not the case here in the Santa Fe. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I do have a completely digital gauge cluster, and I like this because they do give you some options for customization, and I really like it. I like that you have those options. I've left it on a more traditional setup and have really enjoyed it. On the steering wheel, on the left, we do have our adaptive cruise control and passive steering assist. And off to the right, we have our mode, volume, skip track, favorite, and phone options. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent, another H, one of many H's found throughout the vehicle, power parking brake, gauge dimmer switch, rear tailgate release, traction control off, and our tow mode. So for the XRT, it actually gets an increased tow rating because they upgraded the coolers. So you can actually tow 4,500 pounds with the Santa Fe, and that is a huge benefit. Moving onto the door, we do have our latch to get in and out, power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, we do have our touchscreen infotainment display. This does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and nothing really too else to write home about. The screen has been really responsive. It's been nice and functional. However, this is our backup camera, and I say camera singularly. This only comes with a backup camera, where the Limited comes with a 360 camera shown here from the vehicle that I tested last year. This only gets a backup camera, and I think that that's a big miss. Because this is the off-road trim level, I would have liked a front camera to see what I'm about to drive over before I drive over it. Down below, we do have 2 climate control vents and our command center, I'll call it, with our navigation, seek, and hazard buttons, tune and scroll knobs. But then we also do have a touchscreen for the climate controls, dual zone climate, which all of this is actually pretty nice. Because this is a touchscreen, I don't love touchscreens, but it's a dedicated touchscreen. So it's not shared with the radio, it's not shared with tons of different things, it's just a clean, simple, straightforward climate control area. Down below, we do have our auto holding brake, our drive mode for snow, my drive, sport, and normal, 4-wheel drive lock, auto start stop on and off, hill descent control, our camera button, and parking sensors. Down below that, we do have 2 USB-Cs. One can be used for the infotainment and charging, or you hit this button and it's just charging. Very, very cool, and it actually charges your phone a lot faster if you just do charging and use wireless CarPlay. Then we do have a wireless charging pad down below and our cup holders. So we'll do a big friggin' bottle test. And as we learned last year, this gets a flying pass for the big friggin' bottle test. Then we do get a center console and the seats. The seats do say XRT on them, and they are a synthetic leather. And they're nice, they've been comfortable, they are heated, they are power. So I've enjoyed that aspect quite a bit. However, speaking of seats, the Santa Fe is a 3-row SUV. So let's go do some back seat reviews. All right, so I'm in the second row of the Santa Fe XRT. Sounds a lot more aggressive than it is, but a couple of things to note. First of all, we do have this giant drawer in the center, and something cool is that this is actually accessible from the front as well. Very, very cool dual-purpose center console there. However, because of that, we don't have anything special. We don't have our own climate vents down below. They are on the B pillars. We do get seat back pockets, fold-down cup holders, and 2 USB-C chargers on the backs of the 2 front seats. So, cool amenities for sure, and this is outfitted with the bench seat as opposed to last year's Santa Fe that we reviewed that had 2 captain's chairs. So nice to see the bench seat. This is an option, but of course you can get the captain's chairs as well. Let's try to fit into the third row. I have a feeling this won't go very well, but we'll try it nevertheless. Okay, so the back has to be up. Well, that's not a ton more room, especially for a big boy like me. Here we go. We are in the third row. A couple of things to note from back here. We do have rear AC control. We have a wall outlet, and we have climate vents back here. So very nice to see all of that. Would I want to ride back here? No. Now you can use these back seats. My cousins from Tennessee, they just bought one of these. Shout out to the Keflers. And so they pack everyone in here and drive up here for the holidays. And so they make it work. It works. I'm sure Livy or Eliza is the one that's shoved in the back. They're the shortest, but it works. You have a third row if you need it, but I wouldn't depend on this third row every single day, especially as your kids get older. So if you have to pick up the whole neighborhood from soccer practice, you can do it, but I wouldn't do it every day of the week. So let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the Hyundai Santa Fe, little button down here, and it is a power-operated tailgate. Once we are around the back, obviously, this is the back of the third row. So when the third row is up, not a whole ton of space. We do have a 12-volt outlet over there, but we do have power folding mechanisms for the second row of seats. So I can show you the right side. There you go, like that. All my filming equipment is in the middle there. I don't want to squish it. But you can power down the second row. Very, very nice. We also do have these pull tabs here. Push it like that. It's hard to do one-handed, but I will try. There we go. So now you can get an idea of all the space that you would have in the back of the Santa Fe. Very, very cool. Now we got to talk about the looks, and a couple of things to note. First of all, this is Hyundai embracing their boxy styling, and I have to say I really, really like it, and everyone I've shown it to has as well. I like this sort of futuristic retro styling, and I think the Santa Fe executes it very, very well. This also has the earth tone matte paint, which I think looks good. However, it comes with extra care and maintenance. Matte paint, the sort of non-shiny finish comes with a lot more extra care. You cannot take this through an automatic car wash, or at least not a touch one. You can't use a microfiber or towel on the exterior. You might rub it smooth. And so there's going to be some added maintenance or thought that has to go into caring for this paint that I'm not sure a lot of owners are particularly up for. However, like I said, I think it's a pretty vehicle. On the exterior, the XRT also comes with these grab handles that are built into the side of the car, which is really, really cool. It's not exclusive to the XRT trim. The upper trims get it as well, but the base models I found out recently actually don't get this feature. So if you go to the lot and end up deciding to leave with a base model Santa Fe, you're not going to get these side grab handles, which I also found out can be locked, which is pretty cool. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think having driven the Santa Fe for the last 7 days? Well, at its core, I really, really like the Santa Fe. I like the way that it drives. I like the 2.5 turbo. I love the way it looks. I think the tech is good enough. It passes the big friggin' bottle test. It honestly checks most, if not all, of the boxes for me. And so I would love to end this video happily and say that I love it just as much as the last one. Thank you guys for watching. Hit the subscribe button. But this is the special XRT trim, meaning the off-road trim. And to me, I don't like the off-road trim because I feel like Hyundai didn't push it far enough. You get the knobby tires, you get the special wheels, and you get the ride height increase. The towing capacity being raised is the only genuine thing that makes me say, oh, yeah, that's actually maybe worth it. If you had a small camper, if you towed a Miata on an aluminum trailer, you could do it here with the Santa Fe, now in the XRT trim. And I think that that's something that they should lean into rather than trying to be off-roady. Because honestly, it's not a very off-road oriented car. Sure, it has four-wheel drive and knobby tires, but it just seems half-baked in terms of what it has to offer. Now, if they put this out 10 years ago, I would say, yeah, that's great. But now the casual off-roading segment is so popular that almost every brand has a version of this. Nissan has the Rock Creek, Honda has Trail Sport, Toyota has TRD. And so when comparing it to all the competition, they get more than just wheels and a slight suspension lift. I would have loved to have seen some red recovery hooks up at the front. I would have loved to have seen a cut lifted front bumper, maybe some accented LED lighting, maybe a bigger, stronger, sturdier roof rack like Subaru does with their Wilderness line. I think Trail Sport and Wilderness should be examples for this segment. And I think that this falls short in that regard. I don't feel that special, and I don't feel like I really get that much more off-road ability than a standard Santa Fe. It doesn't really add that much for me personally. Now again, if you tow a camper, this is the way to go. But besides that, I don't know, maybe they should have called this the Santa Fe Hot Shot to emphasize that towing, but I don't know. To me, it felt like half an attempt. And I know that Hyundai is capable of building fantastic cars with fantastic trim levels. And the Ioniq 5 XRT gets different bumpers. It actually looks a little bit more off-road ready. This, honestly, it took me 3 or 4 days to even notice a difference from last year. This is last year's Santa Fe that I had. This is this year's. You can see where I'm going. I like the Santa Fe. It's a good car. I just don't see much worth in the XRT trim level. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Hyundai for letting me borrow their Santa Fe for the last 7 days. Huge thank you to Drive Shop for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of this vehicle. And of course, the Midwestern Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.